Welcome to another episode of Peers Over Beers, your favorite digital and social evangelist podcast, with your industry veteran hosts, Michael Sandoval and Chris Tetzel. This podcast starts now. And welcome to another episode of Peers Over Beers. I'm one of your hosts, Michael Sandoval.
And I'm the third host, Christopher Detzel.
I was going to prevent myself from giggling right after that, but I couldn't do it. Because you just came in with third host.
Yeah, third host. What does that even mean?
Yeah, exactly. I'm not even asked who the second host is. But Chris, you know what? We got to see each other last weekend, and it was great to see you.
It was awesome to see you. I took a pic and posted on Twitter, so I don't know if you saw that, but I did.
Yes. This is the thing I was going to mention, that you should go to our Twitter handle, and because there is a good picture of us with cheery cheeks, because I think we probably already had a few beers by then.
Yeah, I was almost done with that beer.
And I happened to show up in shorts, and apparently Dallas is still going through winter.
Well, that day it was funny because it was nice and warm most of the day, and then that night when a cool front kind of blew in and it's pretty cold, and luckily your girlfriend brought some pants and clothes for you. So yeah, and it's funny.
Clothes.
So tenure at Rexel, Michael never had a beard, and he always wore a nice outfit.
Yeah,
and no matter where he went,
pants. Yeah,
if we were in Paris, even just going out, wherever we were, he wore pants.
Yeah,
and not even jeans. So
yeah.
So a lot of people that we saw that day were shocked to see one with a beard, and then two with shorts.
Yeah,
but I've seen you like that, because we used to do Peers Over Beers and stuff like that at your house, in Dallas. But so it was kind of fun. I was like, oh yeah, that's been happening for a couple of years now.
What's going on? Yeah. The other thing is, we were chatting. You are getting ready to launch a community on the 28th.
Yeah, April 28th is the launch of the community. Pretty exciting.
Yeah. Well, first of all, how do you feel? I mean, how's it coming along? You must have done a lot. I mean, that's a lot of work, man.
I've done a ton of work, man. Thank you. I feel good. I feel better. There's always things that go wrong, and you try to prepare for those things, and I'm doing that. I'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, it's ready, man. It's 90% ready. How about that?
Yeah, no. Yeah, it's always the finishing touches that come through. And remind me of the partner you're working with again. Is it Higher Logic?
Yeah, so there's two pieces to that. So Higher Logic is the vendor for the community platform, and then I worked with a company called eConverse to build the community. So I worked with them on the UI, UX stuff, the look and feel and all that stuff, and then they also did the feel and development of the community. So but it has my hands all over it, and so just like Imperva did. Yeah, sorry. So, but it feels good. This is the most beautiful community I've built from a platform standpoint. So I'm very excited about it.
Well, I would love, for when it's ready, would love to do like a little tour.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was one of the Peers Over Beers thing. You kind of say, hey, this is how you do this. This is what and maybe.
Well, we'd have to probably do it on we couldn't do it on the Zencaster that we're on today because it doesn't have it's a platform that we do video and our audio.
Yeah.
But we'll have to just do it on a, regular Zoom, and it'd probably sound okay.
Yeah.
That way I can show it if you want. So anyways, yeah, man, it's exciting. So I don't know. Do you want to hear about the process that I got to go through for the next 3 weeks?
I was like very, very fascinated. I want to see how you feel, because when you put a date down, a lot of things now have to fall into place as a result.
The date's been there for a while, so it's not a shocking date or anything else. But I can tell you this: it's the fastest community I've built.
Yeah,
think about it,
I was going to say you went from 0 to 60 pretty damn fast.
Yeah, because you never know when you go into an organization, budget, legal, security, all that kind of stuff when finding a vendor. And if you have to go through the whole vendor selection process, that could take a long time. To be honest, I already had a vendor in mind. because I used Higher Logic in the past. It's kind of like you're a big intelligent guy.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not a big intelligent guy. Like I look at that platform today and I'm thinking, that kind of looks like shit. Like I know you can change something, but I just don't like it. But I'm not. I think they're a good platform, but
Yeah.
when I look at them, anyways.
Yeah.
So I already had in mind, what I wanted. Just because I've had a good relationships with them, and so that took a lot out of the process, right? So I didn't have to spend a month or two interviewing a bunch of vendors.
Hmm.
um, and then the hardest part is one, you know when I go. So the way it went was when I started on December 21st of last year, so just 2020, right?
Yes.
So it was the week of Christmas, so I was only there for three
Oh my God,
days
that's
or
right.
whatever.
I even said like,
Yeah,
are you gonna take like a
I
week
didn't
off?
take any time off. I didn't
Seriously.
even. Friday I quit Imperva, and then Monday I went to Reltio, and so I agree. I probably should have taken like 2 weeks off or something. I
Uh,
will next,
yeah.
if there's ever a next time, which
You were like,
I
I mean,
love.
I mean,
Yeah, if there's ever a next time, I'll take 2 weeks off, but maybe three. Um, but I do love where I'm at now. So uh, yeah, so when I got there, I just started going. Like I just started. So that week of Christmas, I just started talking to everyone and anyone that was there in the office.
yeah.
Or say in the office in their virtual whatever.
Yep.
And the positive about this time around is I understood how kind of, for the most part, how because tech companies are set up in very similar ways
Yeah,
for the
it's
most part,
scarily serious. Yeah, similar.
and
Yeah.
it's not always perfect, but it's very similar. So I at least had that. I didn't have that when I was in Imperva. I was like, I don't even know what to do. Just talk to some people. I didn't know what a PM lead or all that stuff. Now I have some really good ideas of what most people do.
Yep.
So that was good. But I did that for 2 weeks straight. Just talk, 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 talk. Probably talk to 30, 40, 50 people or whatever. And then in addition, you can do more than one thing at a time. I was in talks with Higher Logic, and then meeting with our legal and all that kind of stuff. And then after that, I really then the harder part. So that was easy. I mean, it wasn't easy
Yeah.
per se, but that's really the easier part. Is actually trying to find content, because this time around I wanted 5 to 7 blogs that I can post once a week or maybe
Yeah. Yeah.
even more. I wanted Q&A, and so trying to dive into that and finding that, and then even the harder part was, how do I get a list of people to email to say, are you interested in the community, and how do I get content from customers and partners and things like that. That took a lot of work, took a lot of effort. I found it, just like I did it in Perba, and people just started giving me stuff, and so that's cool. And then I started working with marketing and things like that. And so now I've got them on board to really help in a lot of ways to market. We put out a teaser video today and yesterday, um, about the community. Like I posted on my LinkedIn, they posted on their LinkedIn and Twitter, et cetera, and things like that. So kind of teasing a little bit. So the way it's going to work is for the next 3 weeks. Next week, I opened up the community already to employees, not officially, but pretty much,
Internally.
yeah, pretty much internally. Just posted on my Slack channel and community #community Slack channel, and then so I think about 40 people signed up, so that was good. And then they kind of told me some problems that they were having. I was like, okay, this is good, and so I fixed some of those problems. And then next week I'll do kind of a deep dive walkthrough of the community for the entire company. So whoever shows up, probably like 100, 150 to 200 people that show up to that. And then the next week, I'm going to email 40 people that are customers and partners to let them know if they want early access and become a founding member in a sense, to go do these things, right? Say, hey, dear Michael, would love for you to come to the community. You mentioned you had some interest in becoming a founding member. Well, here's your chance. Upload your photo. Here's the link.
The,
Register. Upload your photo.
actually, where your mouth is.
Yeah, so maybe I'll get out of those 40, 10, 5, 2. I don't know. That doesn't matter. I mean, that does matter because I'm interested to see who might show up.
Mm.
But then I have probably 2.5, 3 weeks of content from customers and from partners, that they gave me questions, right? And so I'll post 2 questions a day for the next 2 or 3 weeks, um, on behalf of those customers and partners. So it is them. They're the ones that said, yes, go ahead, do this. Then
Mm-hmm.
I'll email each one, let them know it's posted. Please go upload your photo. Here's your I don't give them a password. I send them a link to their password. Let them know that, they can change the link, and then we're off. Then I start emailing people, 100, 200 people every single week, to let them know, hey, just so you know, Reltio now has a community. Go do these 3 things.
Mm.
You know, log in, create a login, upload a
Create a
photo, and
profile. Yeah.
post something. That kind of stuff. And then in June or July, most probably June, I'm going to start. I've got 2 or 3 people kind of interested in doing some webinars internally for our community. So we'll be off to the races there. And so um, there's probably a lot else to say. I mean, if you have specific questions, um, but we're off, man. I mean, I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, no, what you said, there's a lot of stuff you said there is some pretty important stuff. So I kind of want to pull back a little bit. So,
Yeah.
kind of from your beginning, because you already had some experience, you knew what you wanted to do, especially in a tech company, you kind of knew targetedly what you had to go do. And what I
Mhm.
heard is that you kind of bifurcated yourself and you did two things. One is there's the there's the development of the community itself, which you relied on two companies to go off and do. You gave them some instructions and they
That's
went
right.
off to go build.
Yep.
And on the other side, you say, I'm going to go on a content hunt. And so these are the things I want to go do. And so in that thing, uh, I, I heard a few things. One is you wanted to find the right people
Yep.
that were SMEs, right? That had some original content.
That's
Two,
right.
you wanted to go find the right people who had access to your customers, how to
Yep.
go contact those individuals. And then three, you created a way for uh, I would call it an engagement strategy, but in a sense, when you get these two things, I want to be able to give immediate action so somebody can go do something, right?
Yeah.
And I would even split that into two parts again. One was I need to get employees activated.
Hmm.
So this is the preview. Your first step is let's go preview internally so folks can, I say this word, eat your own dog food. They feel comfortable. Sorry for the noise. You can feel comfortable about it and they can do that. And two, you were already starting to you created this idea of a founding membership,
Yep.
which allows you to kind of create some exclusivity, which I do agree. I think that's a great way to start. And by doing that, you kind of did a drip campaign that said, hey, this is what's coming. Are you interested? Hey, you said you were interested. Get ready because I'm going to have you do these things, right? And then at launch, you get to reactivate that audience, right?
Yep.
And then you're gonna start pushing the activation, like go create your profile, go upload a picture. But at the same time, you're also going to do the other side, which is to activate your employees
Hmm.
to go do some original content. And part of that, you were already starting to kind of line up your campaign
Yep.
of what that original content looks like. So it looks like at the beginning, you're going to have an announcement. Two, you're going to focus probably in May on engagement and activation of those individuals. There's probably some
Yep.
data you're going to be fully back looking at it. In June, it sounds like or I think you said July maybe, doing some original
June for
webinars,
sure. Yep.
right? Some webinars, which will kind of give you another way to reactivate some individuals. And, kind of at your near term, that's your 3 month, two
Yeah,
month
that's right.
path, right?
Yeah, I think that it's you do the webinar stuff just because I can create video, I can create engagement, and all. I
Mm.
mean, we've talked about this in the past, right? And
Yeah, we
then
have. Yeah.
additional blogs and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's kind of on that journey to get that original content. It's continuous. That piece is just you know just maniacally focused. That's what I'll be maniacally focused in on is the content.
Yeah.
Um,
We always said the hardest part is not the creation, it's the launch is the beginning of the party.
This is just the launch. Yeah, I mean, I just started. Somebody was like, oh, look, our organization is extremely excited. Reltio is pumped and ready, and I the one thing I'm seem to be pretty good at is getting everybody excited. Oh my gosh, we got this! Oh god, we got this community.
That's
And like,
great. It's your wheelhouse, sir.
and so that's good. But like people are like, oh my gosh, great job, Chris. This is awesome. I was like, thank you, but
Thank you,
I
but
haven't even started.
yeah.
So Um, and I think the big challenge will be, and people seem on board. You never know what you're going to get until it's launched and things like that. Is how to, who are the people internally that can help go answer those questions. The nice thing is a small company, so and our CEO's on board. So pretty sure, I can get some people to answer, but and I think they will. But that I don't know exactly who they are. You think it's these four people, and then all of a sudden in 3 weeks it's actually these other two people, or three or whatever, So that's always interesting about. And then you got to worry about, you can't overwhelm somebody because they have a full-time job, and you got to be understanding. Like I was talking to this guy the other day, and he's really smart in this one area, but
Mm.
he's a developer. And developers for software companies or SaaS companies, they're just really busy, and they're not, you know, necessarily people focused oriented. But I was talking about the webinar program, and he goes, "No, I'm not going to do that." Basically, he's working 12 hours a day, and I was like, I get that. And I was like, but hey, man, why don't you think about how you can contribute? Because my thought was, you know, all these people are coming to the engineering team internally to get your help already because these things are broken. And maybe they're just not using their software right. So maybe we create a series of quick videos, quick hit videos, or a series of webinars to engage those customers to answer those questions. And now we have the video. Long-term thinking is no one's coming to you anymore, then you can actually do your job if we just do these three or four things, and you spend a little bit of time helping me create the content to do it. Nobody wants to think that because they don't have the time right now. And so how do you kind of get the organization to also think a little bit more strategically? I say the organization, people that are individual contributors, because they've got this thing to do and they're not thinking about the long-term piece,
Yeah,
right?
I think one of the challenges is like I was thinking about the gentleman who said no, and you're kind of like, okay, thank you. We'll talk
Well,
later.
that's kind of, he, his reaction was basically no. He didn't say no, but he was like, well, I don't know that, I could do that as 12. Plus, he's Russian too, right? So they're very,
Oh,
uh,
okay. Say no more.
blunt.
Got it. Yeah,
They're very blunt. And
yeah.
so,
We will have
and
no way.
he goes, yeah. But it is kind of awkward. It's like, all right, this guy's basically saying no to me, or he did say no. And so, all right, how do I kind of, I go, well, do you have any questions for me? What? I go, have you heard of the community and things? I go, yes, we'll see how I can, contribute later,
Being very
but right
kind and
now,
saying no
yeah, I was
in a
like,
very Russian way. But you're going to have a full spectrum of individuals, right? You have the
yeah,
people who
that's
are going to
right.
be very excited, and
Yeah.
people who just don't want anything to do with you. Just get out of my face. I've got shit to do. And a lot of people in the middle who just are interested but don't sway
You get
either
a
way.
lot of
Right?
that. You get a
Yeah,
lot of
you
that.
get a lot of that. Like, Chris, be successful. That's great. But
You're doing a great job, Chris.
great job, Chris. Pat on the back.
Bye bye.
It's the people that are excited you want to engage. Clearly, I mean that's
That's
obviously
right.
your strategy. And when you make, even for me, right, you make those folks successful,
That's exactly right.
and that begins to shift the bell curve, right? And eventually,
That's exact. It's funny. I was on the phone with our leadership team today, and I said, here's the thing. I go, the cool thing about what I try to do is the best I can is to make the person that's blogging or answering questions or doing
mhm,
a webinar, whatever they're doing, I try to get them to be more successful. So for example, there's 4 or 5 things that I'll do. One is, hey, if they actually did a webinar, I will create blogs for them. I just have them edit the blogs, but I
mhm,
do
mhm,
most of that creation for them. Um, and then they post it. I post it as them as the author, right?
mhm.
And then I email their boss and say, "Oh, this person did a great webinar, and we created these pieces of content under this person's name." I
Right.
also link it in. I also Slack it, send their bosses
Yeah,
an email, and copy that, and all that kind of stuff. Because then what happens is, this happened to me at Imperva, and this to some degree happened at Rexel.
yeah, and I
There's a
would
lot of
applaud you
different
by
things I
doing
would
that.
do
It's
at
like that's the
Rexel.
important thing to do is to get people kudos.
It's the kudos, and it helps them, even because if you look at my LinkedIn, and I tell people, and I'll show people my LinkedIn and say, hey, look, if you authored a blog for some other vendor or if your own vendor, you could put that under your bio. You could put star book whatever, and then the
Mm.
link to your blog or whatever, right? And it's authored by you. You did it.
Yeah.
This is awesome stuff. And you know what? You don't have to write the whole thing. As a matter of fact, you just have to edit it to make sure it's correct, and maybe add a pic or two. That's it. That's all you have to do. And some people are like, oh, okay. Then when I show it's never easy, but whenever I make it easier for them, you know, and they're a little bit more excited. And then this other person becomes excited, and then this other person becomes excited. I'm like, oh my god, I don't have time for all this, but this is awesome.
Okay,
So
you all have to get in line now.
that sort of happened at Imperva. Everybody wanted to do a webinar
Yeah, you
every
create
single
demand.
week in July, August, September, October, into November. Every single week, I had at least one webinar, sometimes two, uh, for an hour long that people wanted to do because they started to come to me. I got it so it was so popular
Mm.
that I just couldn't stop it. And eventually, I was like, "We'll do something next year," knowing that I was about to leave. You know what I mean? Like, well, I mean, after a certain time, like half of November, nobody's there, and then half of December, no one's there anyway. So you can't really book those. Let's do January and book those out. You know, um, but it was awesome because I was getting 2 to 3 blogs on every single 1 hour podcast, every single webinar, right? And so it was really cool. And then you get a bunch of good Q&A and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I digress, but it
No,
launches April
I think
28th,
I think it's
and
very germane. In fact, how does it make you feel when you were getting that kind of traction?
it was awesome, man. I was like, it,
It's because
it
it makes you know that it works, right? It
exactly.
creates uh, when you feel the pull, right? The demand.
Yeah.
And I've mentioned this many times before, right? It's not just for the company, but even for community managers or at the beginning, you have to push a lot. There's so
Oh
much
gosh.
energy in the upfront that at some point when you think you're at that peak, you have to go a little bit more
Yeah.
that you don't know, like, gosh, is this, you start doubting yourself or whatever. But
What's
then
really
once you start to feel the roll, it's just like a roller coaster. It kind of goes very, very, very quick.
Yeah, it does. It takes probably a good 6 to 8 months,
Yeah.
maybe longer, of
Yes.
pushing and
Of just
continuously,
push,
maniacally focused. What's
push.
really cool though is after 8, maybe 10 months or so, when you've published those blogs in the past, that blogs or even Q&A and whatever it was that person kind of did, and then you go back and look at some of the analytics, then you can say Brian Anderson's blog is number one. Oh my God, it's getting this many looks from Google and everything else. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And so then you can start being a little bit more focused. Then you're like, oh, well, this is really the content people are looking at. They're not really looking at
Yeah.
this other shit.
And then you can give them some more data about, and this is the thing I think going back to your Russian gentleman, right? That at the moment he sees it as work. He doesn't know that
Yeah.
he could write something quite prose
Yeah.
that gets Google's attention and it starts to drive a lot of activity. It starts to do an acquisition. People start asking questions, and hit that one time. The time that he spent to go do that could have maybe created a new deal. Could have driven some
Well, could have.
cross
He's a
sell.
developer, so let's. With that guy, yeah, I mean, maybe he didn't have to answer so many questions or
Yeah,
have to
it could
build this
drive
other thing
loyalty.
because, yeah. So I agree. I think that that's it's kind of hard to do because people don't get digital or they don't get SEO and all that stuff, right?
Right.
So you have to really kind of take baby steps, and even so, you've got to just dummy it down because look, that's not their job. They don't do digital stuff. They don't. They understand that people search on Google. It's just a normal thing that we all do now. But when you talk about, like, if no one is, or if people are searching for your stuff and they have a question about it and you're not on Google, then you lose. I mean, it's just like we have to get that stuff on there, and we have to create. I never thought I was an artist, but I think now I've become like a content artist lately, in the last few years, 4 or 5 years.
Well, I'm glad you haven't gone eyebrow artist, so that's good.
Well, it's getting there. Like, I had to shave my eyebrow. Oh my God.
Oh my god! But no, it is, and I think for me personally, like when you start to feel that traction, it's a very good feeling
It is.
because it's a lot of investment of one's time, as you are experiencing at this moment, and you have the rest of the year set for you, right? I mean, you've got. I mean, as you just mentioned, the work now starts.
The work now starts, and I think as I kind of get used to doing some of this, I do a lot of upfront work the first 2 or 3 months
Yeah, you do.
of
Yep.
prep, and and then some of it just is already there, and now I can breathe on that piece,
Mm.
but then I go off and start thinking about the other pieces, and like how do I focus in on that work?
Yeah, yeah,
Because
yeah.
I think it's just in stages, build of the community, acquire and seed content,
Yep.
then content starts, then there's more of that acquisition piece. How do you get people on, pushing people on and on and on and on and on. Then you got to find somebody to answer those questions, and then you start building different programs from there, right?
Yep.
That are going to engage your audience. So
Yeah, no, it's great. And Chris, if I haven't said it, congratulations, but maybe I shouldn't say quite yet. I don't want to
not
ruin the.
yet on the 28th.
Yeah, I'll just say, great job so far, sir.
Thank you.
Well done. That is really well done. Um, and I look forward to doing a little, open house tour when you're ready to talk about it.
Yeah.
Beers over beers. That'll be really awesome. But until next time, Chris, as always a damn pleasure to talk with you. And I'm one of your hosts, Michael Sandoval.
And I'm the fourth host, Chris Detzel.
Exactly, the fourth host. Tune in next week. We'll have a fifth host around.
We'll
Anyway,
see
thank
what
you very
happens.
much. You guys have a good one.
All right. Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.